Welcome to Climate Quickies, bite-sized nuggets of climate goodness from our TEDxLondon experts in under 5 minutes.
In this week's Climate Quickie, we hear from Josephine Latu-Sanft, an international communication specialist and native Tongan. Josephine explains why we need to reframe the representation of climate vulnerable communities and shares with us the impact of being depicted in global media as moments away from total climate catastrophe or annihilation. Let's head over to Josephine now to explore how we can all play our part in actively shifting the narrative. And remember, stay curious.
I'm from the Kingdom of Tonga, which is in the South Pacific. It's an island group of about 170 little tiny atolls, little tiny islands, and with a population of about 100,000 people. And of course, one of the main issues that we face in the Pacific is climate change and the impacts of climate change. I work as a communication specialist in the intergovernmental sector, but today I'm here as a Tongan Fijian. You know, my mom's family is from Fiji. I'm here as a Pacific Islander. For me personally, as a Pacific Islander, I see a lot of the time myself, my country, my people portrayed in these grand narratives. And, you know, it's just interesting to see. Sometimes it makes me, I actually don't identify with the stories that are out there about who we are. And then in my line of work, especially, you know, I deal a lot. I go to the COP meetings, the annual UN climate change summits, and then I deal a lot with communicating these issues to a worldwide audience. But at the same time, you know, you have these two identities intersect. A lot of the times, you know, it's funny. The messages that I find myself, you know, churning out and sharing, and which are facts, right? Which are reality. The fact that island states such as Tonga are vulnerable. They are very prone to climate disasters. They are small. They're remote. They're weak. They're super susceptible to all these negative effects of climate change, sea level rise, increased intense in storms, cyclones, etc. And you trying to make people care about the issue, that people are affected. But then at the same time, when I go home and then I tell these same messages to myself in the mirror, or think about telling my own family members or my own people and saying, you know what, you guys, we are actually small and we are weak and we're defenseless and we need hand holding. And I feel like there should be something more positive for me to hang on to personally, because, you know, tellings, I always sometimes make the comparison with, going to a friend who's, you know, really ill or terminally ill, or somebody who's on death row or something, and telling them, you know what, you're going to die. You know that you're going to die, right? Yeah. It's such a bad situation. You're going to die, and then we're all, and you wouldn't do that, because you're just going to put the person in a position that makes them think, you know what, I'm actually quite helpless. I'm a victim, and I really have to, I can't help myself. Yeah. And that is such at odds with how I grew up. Like I said, I was born and raised in Tonga. I was very proud of our culture, of our people, of how we dealt with problems, and I always thought that we were strong and resilient. I mean, I remember when I started as a journalist, there wasn't a Tongan word in the vernacular for climate change. Yeah. Right now there is. You know, when you see how sometimes the impacts of climate change on Pacific Islands is portrayed, one would think, if you didn't know anything else about us, you would think that the sea is about to is flowing in every village, and people are like desperate right now, and they're like you need to save them. You know, you need to send ships in or something like that, right? If you didn't no idea, but it's more complex than that. And that's the thing with narratives. When media try to talk about these issues, because they're so complex and they have to reach so many people, and we're still driven by news values that include how big is the impact, how many people died, which countries, who is involved, are there important people or not? If not, is it new? Is it exciting? Is it surprising? These are the news values that still run. So people have to kind of, squash this huge complex issue into something.
Whole reality
into like that 2-minute news story into the. But that's what people want, and then but with climate change, this is long-term changes. We're trying to reorient how human civilization approaches how we live, our values, and that's a long-term thing, right? You cannot make base those decisions on just those type of quick reactions.
Thanks for listening to this Quickie.
This episode was created by our superstar podcast team at TEDxLondon. Until next time,
Stay curious.